This is FYI on your TV, brought to you by Hometown News. I'm Kathy Botham. I've got Nancy Grundy with me. You're with the International Plowing Match. You're the co-chair of the Quilt Committee. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure to be here.
There is a big component of the IPM is the quilts.
Correct. Yes. Yes, it is. And I think it's been going on for a long time. I know I, as a young teenager, went to a plowing match and there was the quilt display, which brought a lot of interest. So it's a traditional that they have a large quilt show a month prior to the actual plowing match. And that's where people bring in their quilts and then they're judged. So you get first, second, and third prize. And then they are taken down and stored in a private location and rehung during the plowing match. And they are in the Quilt Tent that is within Tent City. And we this year have a tent that's 150 by 60. So you can imagine that it's a large quilt, and we are expecting to have well over 100 quilts of different categories. And we have quite a list of categories, which we can go into later on.
Sure, and I mean, much like organizing this IPM, putting together a quilt takes some time. So people that are putting quilts in this, they've had to work the last year or so to be able to put a quilt together.
That's right, yes. And one of the other components was we have the Quilt Block Challenge, and we've had that, and it's been now completed, where there are 4 color fabrics, and then we make them up into little kits. People buy that little kit, and they design and make a block. And the block is 12.5 by 12.5, and it's submitted, and then they are judged. And then they're all put together, and they're going to 3 quilts are being made. One is for the raffle, and that'll be going on sale. The tickets are being printed next week sometime for the quilt raffle. The second quilt goes to Queen of the Furrow, which is yay, females plowing.
Yes.
And the second one goes to the host family. And then the other blocks that have not been incorporated into the quilts, they are made into tote bags for the princesses of the Queen of the Furrow.
Well, that's great that you had such a good response to be able to make that many quilts and that many
yes.
items afterwards.
Yes. Yeah, we did. We had 150 quilts, and we sold about 130. And not everybody submits them. A lot of people were strong-armed into buying the kit because we needed the money, but they didn't necessarily get their block submitted. But we even took blocks in after the deadline. But that was a lot of fun. And that, again, that's a lot of preparation, getting the material, cutting it, putting it into the little bags, getting it distributed to everyone. And so we were happy about it, and we're happy about the returns. And the quilts are being long-armed right now, and the binding is being put onto another quilt this week. So it's a great fun. And the raffle tickets will be able to be purchased at the plowing match, and the draw will be on the Saturday, last day of the plowing match. So tickets are $2 each. So hopefully we'll have a winner.
And you have another pre-event going on right now too, and that's barn quilts.
The barn quilts, yes. Now, I would ask the question, does everyone know what a barn quilt is? And they might say, no, what's a barn quilt? Well, it is not made of fabric, and it's not sewn on a machine. It's made of wood and outdoor paint. So you take a traditional block, quilt block, which could be Ohio Star or, just some squares, and you tape using frog tape, and you mask, and you draw the pattern on your board. Now we are going to be using 2 by 2, 2 feet by 2 feet size. You can make them any size you want. And then you paint them, and you go back the next day, take off the tape and paint the other color. Usually there are like 4 or 5 colors, and then you mount them on your barn, your garden shed, your garage, wherever. And this is a new category that we have put into the quilt show, and it's a 2 by 2. And we encourage a lot of like farmers making them maybe 6 by 6 or 8 by 8, and maybe they will get involved with painting them and putting them up, and we can have a barn trail route so people can go and look at them, and they are really quite amazing. If you've ever been down around Lyndhurst, I think they had something there a while back, because you will notice, on top of people's garages or at the peaks of their house, the little barn quilts. So it's fun to look at, and it's a great adventure.
I did have to Google it because I wanted to make sure I knew what we were talking about today. And like once I saw them, I think, oh yeah, I've seen those up before. People have used them as decorations on their barns or houses, that sort of thing.
Yes, yes. I have one hanging on my back fence. A friend of mine has one on her garage, and you can make them smaller. You can make them 18 inches by a foot, say, for instance, and have them by your mailbox. So, it's up to your imagination on the size. Usually, nice primary colors are the best because they show up from a distance. And I know. There's a gal over near Russell. She's got an absolutely gorgeous one up on her barn, and I think it's 8 by 8. And then she's got a couple of other ones in her store that are for sale. And there's a gal in a Canada area that has a small business doing barn quilts. If you don't feel like painting them, but you want to have a decoration.
Oh, excellent. So are you asking people to put one together and submit it, or how does that work?
They are allowed to. We did have a little workshop session or an information session just yesterday, actually, for people that had signed up. And you can sign up by going to the IPM 2022. And I think there is a little tab there about quilts. And then we're having a workshop. First part of March, and it's you pay $50 and you get your board, your 2x2, and your frog tape, and access to all kinds of paint and brushes. And that's a 3-day event. You're either in the morning or afternoon. But I'm sorry to say it's all sold out. I'm
Wow.
happy. Yes. So we have 30 participants, 15 morning, 15 afternoon. And if interest is there, we will have another workshop. And or you can just do it by yourself and submit it. You don't have to take the workshop to submit it. So get yourself a 2x2 board or Google it and find out how to do it and submit it to our quilt show in August.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I've talked to people about for the IPM here before on FYI, and it's going to be huge. It's going to be massive, and until you see it, you're not going to believe it. So you had a meeting on the weekend, and you're a co-chair of just one committee. And if I did my math correctly, there was like 40, 45 committees.
At least. Yes.
At least.
Yes. I mean, we have the VIP, we have the security, we have entrances, we have the vendors, just you name it. And just the logistics of the traveling, getting from the tent city, which is on the Kempville, the old Kempville College grounds. I'm sure people know where that is.
Mm-hmm.
And so Tent City is going to be there. And I forget, it's like 70, 80 acres is the tent city, like 2 city blocks. And then there's a large camping component. I think they said there was 1,600 campsites. So
Wow.
people come in, they park there on the Sunday and they're there for the whole week. There's the entertainment. They have stages where they have music within Tent City, and during the camping area, there's a big stage there. It's just like real fun party time and lots of information.
And there's lots going on up until the IPM as well too, which is in September. There's so much going on, like events that you're doing with the quilts and barn quilts. I know I picked mine up last week. I've got their cookbook. They put together a collection of our favorite recipes from the area. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, I got mine at B&H in Kempville, so you can pick it up there. Lots of great recipes in there too. So that's just another way of being able to help out the IPM before it gets here. But they need volunteers too, right?
Definitely volunteers. And again, if you go onto the website, there's a volunteer tab and you can go down and fill it in. And it's very important to do that and fill it in. And you can put in the area that you would be interested in. And if not, just put anywhere and they'll fill you in. They need like 1,200 volunteers. And I think they're up around 500 or so. And I know lots of people are sort of waiting until the last minute, but it's best to get your name in there. And then they're having an information session for the volunteers about a week or so prior to the opening of the plowing match. And that's where you'll get your tag and your information and maybe t-shirts and stuff. And there's lots of clothing and souvenirs going along with the plowing match also. T-shirts, the sweatshirts, fridge magnets, the cookbook. Again, that took a lot of effort getting that done, getting it printed, getting it distributed. It's a lot of work.
It is.
And it's all volunteers.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, when we talk about an event this big, the actual one in September, you guys have been organizing these for years, and it takes years to put these together.
It does. It does. Now, we're kind of a little late getting started. Usually it's about a 2-year when they started, but we're just about a year. So we got going. I think we started in on the quilt thing. I was phoning Shannon Thompson, who is the head of chairperson for lifestyles, and she looks after entertainment, you name it, and the quilts. And so I got in touch with her. I think it was about June sometime, and we got going, and we're off and running.
Oh, and especially trying to organize this during the pandemic too. Is like, are we going to do it? Are we not going to do it? When do we start? Are we going to do it? You know, like
That's right.
It's a lot of work. So
yeah, like I'm very involved with the farm show, which happens at the EY Center in March. And of course, it's now been canceled again for the 3rd year, which is too bad. I look after the quilt display there. So, but again, hopefully, well, I know it will happen.
Yes.
The plowing match is definitely going to go ahead.
It's going to go, yes, yes. Oh, that's wonderful.
Sure.
Well, I thank you for your time today. For more information about the IPM or even the quilts in specific, how do people get a hold of you?
During the, go on to the IPM and look on the tab and under quilts and come down, and there is an email in there. Unfortunately, I don't have it right on the top of my head. plowingmatch.org/IPM 2022.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, Facebook page, there's all sorts of different ways to find you.
That's right, yeah, Facebook, and here's our pamphlets for our quilts, and here's our little bookmark, and we have all the list of categories, and it's going to be a fun time. And hopefully you'll make it to both events, the one in August, and see all the quilt blocks, and then the one in September at the show.